Hi everybody, my name is Tristan, and we're here to do some Hearthstone today. We're going to play Arena, and going to go for the Rogue on this one. I've done some runs with these ones recently, and I don't think I've got one up for Rogue, so this class is a lot of fun, and you get to do some pretty ridiculous things sometimes in Rogue. So this is one of the classes that'll tend to do some more broken stuff. Um, None of these cards are super great. Goblin Sapper is a little bit on the weak side. I don't think we really want that here. And Head Crack only does damage to the hero, which you should be able to kill them. You should be able to kill them eventually anyway. So it's not really the kind of thing you need to do. So we're gonna take Master of Disguise. It's a fine card, and if you have like a creature to protect, then this will do it. Here we're going to take this Deadly Poison. This card's pretty nice, and something you just really always want to pick up with a Rogue in Arena. The Pit Snake's a nice card. Reckless Rocketeer's not very good, but the Deadly Poison, like Pit Snake's cool because they have to deal with it somehow. They're probably just going to use their power to deal with it, but it buys you some time, and it's like if you play a turn one, it's a cheap threat, and it's going to kill something. So it's a fine card, but it's no Deadly Poison. This card's just pretty ridiculous. This is usually going to be a 2-for-1 for 1 mana because it lets you do 3 damage to 2 different minions. And here actually I think going to take the Assassinate, although I don't really like taking the first one of these super early because you don't want to have a bunch of Assassinates in your deck. These other guys aren't great though. Actually, we could take Spectral Knight. He'd probably be okay, but I think I'm feeling like the Assassinate right now. Frostwolf Warlord's not really something that's going to be great in Rogue because we're not going to flood our board that much. So we'll take this. Hopefully we don't end up with 1 Assassinate and 2 pretty bad cards later. But if we have a second one, it's not that. It's no big deal. Here our pick is between Worgen Infiltrator and Eviscerate. I think we're going to go with Eviscerate here. Worgen Infiltrator is a sweet card. It does some good things for Rogue, like being 1 mana makes it easy to enable combo. Because it's easy to play this in the same turn as something else, and having a 1-drop lets us start curving out really nicely. But Eviscerate is a very powerful card. Being able to do 4 to something is a pretty big deal. So we'll go with that here. And we've got a lot of removal kind of cards. We've got a lot of ways to kill our opponent's things. So this is a pretty nice start because we are going to be able to deal with their cards in a cheap way with cards like Deadly Poison and Eviscerate. Here we'll take the Coliseum Manager. I don't think I want a second Master of Disguise, and Dragon Egg's pretty unplayable in most classes. The only class I'd really consider taking this in is Mage, because you can do damage to it yourself, and even then we wouldn't be very happy. Coliseum Manager is a sweet card. 2-5 for 3 is a really good rate. And I think that Rogue is one of the classes this guy's going to be best in because you don't need to use your power as often as the other classes do. So we'll be happy with that. Let's see. I think we're going to go with the heal bot here. Footman and Sentinel both kind of suck, and we're likely to lose a lot of life because we will, with this class, we'll be trading our life points for board advantage because we're going to use our weapon to attack them. So we're going to use our life to gain board position, and we're going to actually use it to save mana also on our hero power. So being able to refill our life is going to help us a little bit. 3-3 for 5 is not very big. Not a great card for its body, but the 8 life is pretty significant. Here we're going to take Buccaneer. This card's sweet. It lets you get double damage out of your hero power, which is pretty huge. It's easy to kill, so you're usually only going to expect to get 1 use out of it. So you want to play this as a 3-mana card. It's kind of like a Deadly Poison, but you have to play this before you use the power. You want to play this in the same turn you use your power most of the time because it's going to get killed, so you don't want to just waste it. And these two are both pretty replaceable. The Elven Archer we really wouldn't even consider playing. And we've got a couple 2-3s for 3. We would, of course, just take the Mech Warper because the class synergy, or the whatever you call it in Hearthstone, the tribe here, is more useful. The mech is more useful than Beast, and this also has the effect of making our mechs cost 1 less. But our choice is going to be between the Mech Warper and the Tinker's Sharp Sword Oil. So this, we've already got a Deadly Poison, which kind of does this. This is more of a finisher, where Deadly Poison is like a removal spell. The oil you basically want to play to win the game, because this is going to, if you combo this, it's going to give you 6 extra damage the turn you play it, and then it's going to be 6 more the turn after that if you get there. So this card is kind of, it can, if you play this right, it's going to be worth 12 damage for 4 mana, which is a pretty huge amount. I think we're going to take that here just to have it as a finisher. We're going to be, at this point, we're kind of looking at like a lot of combo win kind of stuff. This isn't really like a very solid board controlling deck so far. I mean, it is good at board controlling, but it's not one that we don't have a lot of like creatures that we're playing to beat down with. So we're probably going to be looking for like one big finish in a deck like this with like we play the Sharp Sword Oil and hit them for a lot in one turn. And we're going to plan to kill opponents from like a pretty high life total when they're not really expecting it. Fan of Knives is okay. It's good against paladins. Sap is also okay, but not really something we want to do here, I don't think. I think we just want the Bone Guard Lieutenant because it's a solid creature, and we don't have a lot of those yet. So we already have a lot of board control stuff. We don't have a lot of solid bodies. The Sap can be nice, but you have to keep putting pressure on them to make this work. So if you're in a position where you're not applying a lot of pressure to the opponent, then the Sap just isn't going to do as much for you, because this buys you a lot of tempo, but you have to keep the pressure on for that to matter. So we'll take the Bone Guard here because we just want to fill out our curve and have some guys to do beatdowns with. Here we're going to take the Ogre Ninja. This guy's sweet as a 6/6 for 5. He does a lot of damage. He has stealth, so he's always going to get an attack in. He might attack the wrong thing, but if we kill off our opponent's creatures first, then the only thing he can do is hit the face, and that's really what this Ogre wants to do. These cards are both pretty unplayable. The Auctioneer might be good in a deck that has a lot of spells like we do, but I don't think we want to really go for that here. We're going to take the solid creature instead. This will pretty much always be good for us. We've got some nice options here. We won't consider the Puddle Stomper, but we are going to look at Harvest Golem or Shadow Pen Rider. Shadow Pen Rider can be pretty huge as a 6/7 for 5 instead of 6. He's like 1 mana ahead of Boulder Fist Ogre, but you do need to combo him to make that happen. So he's really good when you have the coin. If you have the coin, he's pretty excellent because you can play a 6/7 on turn 4 if you coin him out. And we do have some other cards, like we've got the Buccaneer and the Deadly Poison that we could use to combo this out. We wouldn't be very happy playing the Buccaneer into this, but hopefully we'll get some other things that we can use to enable a combo. Harvest Golem is nice because it leaves a body behind after it dies. So it fills out your curve, and it leaves you something, you know, if your creatures all get swept up. So you do get a hit in after this thing dying, and that's a pretty cool power to have. I am going to go with the Shadow Pan Rider here because it's big, and we don't want to like not have enough big things. Let's see, this pick is between the Ogre Brute and the Undercity Valiant. These are both fine cards. Ogre Brute is big for his cost. 4/4 for 3 is sweet, and the drawback isn't that bad because you want to attack something. The Undercity Valiant's a cool card too, but we've already got like Shadow Pan Rider that's going to want us to save the coin, and we've got Eviscerate too. And we don't have that many combo enablers yet, so I don't think we want to be really wasting like something like the coin on an Undercity Valiant. So we'll go with the Ogre Brute because he's just huge. And let's see, we don't want Frostwolf Grunt, but Ship's Cannon and Flesh-Eating Ghoul are both okay. Ship's Cannon has the bonus of in Rogue of like they have more pirates than the other classes, so you will sometimes you'll get the 2 damage more often with this than you will in other classes. Right now we have Buccaneer as a pirate and nothing else, but it doesn't mean we won't pick up some other ones. And Flesh-Eating Ghoul has the benefit of like getting pretty huge, so I think we're going to take that one here because we seem to have a deck that is going to be good at killing off our opponent's things, and that'll, like, if we can protect the Flesh-Eating Ghoul, we could just kind of go to town with this and do a lot of damage to them if things are going according to plan. Iron Sensei is a cool card, but we don't have any mechs yet, I don't think. We passed up on the Mech Warper, and I believe there was another one that we saw. Oh, we've got Antique Healbot. So this is kind of like the Ship's Cannon in that if you have the tribal synergies for it, it does give you like a big effect, but it's hard to draft those. So this is a card we'd really need to build around, and I don't think we're in a position to do that very well. So our choice is between one of these two taunts. We can take the Exorcist or the Nullifier, And I think we're gonna go with the Nullifier here because it's got more toughness, and the fact that this can't be targeted by spells makes it hard for them to remove. That would probably be a good follow-up to the Flesh-Eating Ghoul too, because it protects it. So like we can play this thing and then play this, and they're not going to be able to fireball this, so they're just going to have to attack it that turn, and we get to hit again with our Flesh-Eating Ghoul. Here we're going to, I think, take Boulder Fist Ogre. Spider Tank's a sweet card. It is something that will help to fill out our curve, and it would be good for, well, yeah, it's a good card to fill out your curve. It's a nice turn 3 because it's pretty big. But we do want some like big finishers in the deck, and Boulder Fist Ogre is a nice one of those because it's big, but it's not too expensive. So 6 is like 6 is kind of like the beginning of the late game. So this is a nice card to have. And Betrayal is pretty sweet, but I think we can pass it here for one of these more solid creatures, and we're going to choose the bigger of those two. And Mookla's Champion is not great in Rogue. This is similar to like why Coliseum Manager is pretty good in Rogue. Mookla's Champion is not so much because we're not going to plan to use the power as much as some other classes will. Like some classes, when they get to the late game, are going to be using the power every turn. We only have to use our power every other turn. So we're not going to get like full value out of Mookla's Champion. And we don't really have anything that like spits out a bunch of extra creatures anyway. So I think this is going to be a little bit unimpressive in our deck. We'll just take a second Flesh-Eating Ghoul. And now we can kind of plan around having these. So we're going to try to have a deck where we will use the Flesh-Eating Ghoul. We'll kind of lean on the Flesh-Eating Ghoul as something that's going to do a lot of our damage. Here we have the choice between a second Assassinate and a second Ogre Brute. Lowly Squire is not really worth considering because it just doesn't do very much. It's not the kind of 1-drop that I want to have in this deck. I'm going to go with the second Ogre Brute. I really like this card. It's big for its cost, and it's good at beating down, and I think that that's what we want to try to do here. So we'll take that over the second Assassinate. It would be nice to get some more 2-drops at this point. We have passed up some decent mechs. We actually could have ended up with a good amount of mech synergy in this deck, but we don't really have that. We've only got 2. So Tinkertown Technician is not doing a whole lot for us, and Dragonling Mechanic also just doesn't really do that much. Like it gives you a Yeti's worth of power and toughness. It gives you a 4/5 for 4, but because it's spread across 2 creatures, it tends to not be as good because the 2/1 will just die to a hero power a lot of the time. So it's kind of like you paid 4 to get a 2/4 and make them spend 2 mana. So it's not very exciting. And I'm actually going to take the Argent Squire here. The reason for that is because we have a lot of things that we want to combo with, and this card is okay to play late game because it's going to survive and get a hit in. So we've got a lot of things that want combo. Actually, we've only got maybe 2 or 3 things that want combo. We've got the Shadow Pan Rider, we've got the Oil, and we've got Eviscerate. So we've got 3 cards that want us to combo, and this is good with 2 of those. It's not as good with the Oil because we might pump this and then we won't get hit with it that turn. Although if we have it ready to go, it is decent with the Oil because if we have the Divine Shield on this and then we Oil and pump it, we get a hit for 4 with the Divine Shield. So we'll take that here because I think it works well with some of these other things that we've got, and the other cards weren't very exciting. Speaking of not very exciting, none of these are great. I'm going to go with the Mana Addict because we do have a good amount of spells, and all 3 of these kind of suck. So that gives us a 2-drop, and we might have some good like moments with it where we get to play a couple spells and then hit. These are all also kind of bad. We don't want the Spell Eater, he sucks, and I don't think we want Hobgoblin because we've got Argent Squire, we've got Mana Addict. I think that's it. You generally don't want to draft a lot of 1-power minions, so because of that, Hobgoblin kind of sucks because you have to play pretty bad cards to get Hobgoblin's effect to happen. So we'll take the Cogmaster's Wrench. At the very least, this is like using the hero power, and we get 1 extra durability on it. And we do have a couple mechs already, so it'll sometimes be good. And there wasn't really another good option for it. These are all pretty bad too. So we could take the Sinister Strike to enable combo, or we could take the Maiden of the Lake, who is I think the Maiden of the Lake is just the best card that's here, but it doesn't really do anything. Like, we don't care that much about using our hero power in this deck. I'm actually just going to take the Sinister Strike as a combo enabler. It also works with Mana Addict, I guess. It's not normally a card that I would take, but we're doing... I think that it's a good enough reason. We just want some things that'll let us make sure we combo with, like, the Sharp Sword Oil. So we'll take it here. It's not very good, but we'll do it. And we could have a second Sharp Sword Oil, but I think it's just better to have Scarlet Crusader instead. One of these is probably enough for a deck because you don't want to just be like flooded with these things and not be able to use them. Scarlet Crusader is a really solid body. Raging Worgen's not really worth considering there. And here we'll take the Argent Horse Rider. Again, this is just the best one of these three cards. These other two don't do that much. And this one has charge, so it gets to remove something right away. This would actually be a really nice card to play in the same turn as the Sharp Sword Oil, because for 7 mana we get to put it out, and we know if like this is the only minion we've played that turn, we know that whatever the oil hits, like that minion is going to be able to attack. So it's the charge minions are nice to have with the oil. These are all pretty bad. I think I'm going to go with the Murloc Tidehunter here because just because it's a 2-drop. We don't really want any of these cards though. And it's unfortunate to have to play one of them. Best card here is probably the Unearthed Raptor. Do we have any Death Rattle stuff? I don't think we've got a lot of that, if any. Let's see. So yeah, we have no Death Rattles right now. But we also don't have a lot of ways to pump up our Nerubian Egg. And without a way to remove our own egg, it's just not really a playable card. So we'll go with the Unearthed Raptor. It's going to basically just be a spider tank for us, but we might pick up a Death Rattle in the next couple picks. Here we'll take Micro Machine. We're probably not going to win. I think we're going to win about an average number of jousts, so Gadget 10 Jouster is not very exciting, and Micro Machine can get pretty big, so we'll go with him here. And I think on this pick, we're going to actually take the Pit Snake. Being 1 mana lets it enable combo, and we don't have all the pirates for Ship's Cannon, so we'll just take this one. It does give us, like, at least a 1... Oh, no, we've got 2 creatures that we got to play on turn 1 now, so that's fine. And this pick, I think, is going to be Mad Bomber just because it's a 2-drop. Nothing much to say about that. I don't think we want a Raid Leader in this deck, but we could consider the Cold Blood. We have Argent Squire, and we have... another Divine Shield somewhere. We've got Argent Squire and Argent Horse Rider. They both get Divine Shield, so they would be pretty nice with the Cold Blood. It does enable combo, but it also actually wants to be enabled. It's between the Cold Blood and the Stormwind Champion. I think that Stormwind Champion's probably just a smarter pick. So, but Cold Blood will let us get some like crazy just wins out of nowhere. You know, let's go with it. We'll take the Cold Blood here and try to just do some silly stuff. Echoing Ooze is a card that could be nice with the Cold Blood. It's either Echoing Ooze or South Sea Captain. Neither one of them does that much for us because we don't have a whole lot of pirates, and we don't have a whole lot of pump effects either. I'll go with the Echoing Ooze. It gives us a 2-drop. Neither one of them does that much though. So this deck is... It's got some interesting stuff going on. We do have a lot of like ways to pull a lot of damage out of nowhere, which early on I said was something we were going to be looking for. We've got a lot of ways to like make our weapons bigger by either playing like the Deadly Poison or the Oil or the Buccaneer. We've got some fast damage like Cold Blood and Sinister Strike and Oil. We've got some things that can get better too. Like we've got like Mana Addict can pump itself. Micro Machine can grow given time. The Flesh Eating Ghoul can grow if we're able to protect it and keep them from killing it off. And we've actually got even Master of Disguise, which is decent with these things. Like if we can grow one creature's power like pretty high, if we can get a big Flesh Eating Ghoul, or if we can put one of our pump power effects on a minion, we can actually Master of Disguise it, and then they won't be able to kill it the turn after that, so we can get 2 attacks in with the thing. And we've got some solid finishers here. So I think this deck does a lot of things well that a rogue is really looking for. Um, so it should be pretty decent, and I think this will be fun to play. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I think this one should be a lot of fun. So I'll be back here in just a minute with some games.